And Jim's representing the New Blue Party, and Jim's going to tell his story quickly, and let him do it. He's a great guy, and I really stand behind his character and the person he is. Jim?
Thank you, Rob. It's good to have friends like Rob in Ottawa. I'm here today from Cambridge, Ontario, southwestern Ontario. I don't know, Cambridge, there you go. I don't know if I can beat the last speaker. That was exceptional. But she spoke about willpower, and I want to tell you about willpower. My wife in Cambridge is the MPP, Member of Provincial Parliament for our riding. Last July, it's important that we point out what's going on from the politicians in charge. And last July, Doug Ford and the Ontario PCs, they put forward this bill, Bill 195. Have you heard of that bill? He called it the Reopening Act, but it was the lockdown bill. That's what it was. And it's so special to be here and invited today, 6 days before Remembrance Day, the week of Remembrance Day in Ottawa, because one of the things that I learned that Remembrance Day is about is the people that made the ultimate sacrifice. One of the gifts we have because of that is the right to criticize government and to oppose them. And we don't need a bullet. It's a ballot and a ballpoint pen. That's how we oppose government in our society. And the politicians in charge, they want us to disengage. They want to exclude us out of the process. They want to get rid of us. Last year, when he tabled that bill, Doug Ford and the Ontario PCs, they like to blame everything on the Trudeau Liberals, but it's important to understand that everything that is going on here, the rules that are being put in place that are controlling and micromanaging your lives are being done in Toronto with a PC government. And he tabled this bill, and my wife said, I can't support this bill. And she voted against that bill, the only PC MPP in that caucus to vote against that bill. And what did he do? Thank you. He kicked her right out of caucus. It took him about 60 minutes. She was on the road back to Cambridge, and he kicked her right out. And 2 weeks later, he kicked 18 more people, her supporters on her local Cambridge PC board, right out of the party. He got his cronies in the back and his lobbyists running his party to throw them all out. And so what is that all about? For years, my wife and I have been fighting this provincial political system in Ontario, and they have thrown everything at us. When we disagree, when we call them out for stuffing ballots in internal party politics, which occurs, that's the truth. What do? They've sued us, and we beat them in court. They come after us. Thank you. They come after us and they throw us out of elections. They call us names. They ridicule us in the press. So why am I sharing this story with you? Because we would have never have thought when we were going through all that, those same people and the same attitude would be going after thousands of Ontarians across this province in the same manner that they go after those in the political system that disagree with them. And for all the trouble we went through, it does not compare to the calls and the emails we get from people across this province who are losing their jobs, their livelihoods, students who are losing their educational opportunities because they do not agree. And the same people that are running this undemocratic provincial political party and all the provincial political parties are in charge of our government. And so what do they want from us? They don't want us to engage. That's right. They want us to leave. They want you to believe that all hope is lost, that voting is a waste of time, that the system is totally against you, and you should do nothing but walk away.
It's the Jesuits. It's the Catholic Church. All roads.
Well, maybe you know better than me.
All roads lead to Rome.
Well, there you go.
Okay? Let's stop the bullshit now.
But I'm going to tell you, well, I've got a story for you. And you can agree and you can disagree, but these rallies have been fantastic, and the lawsuits and all the things that occur are necessary to push back. But there's a missing piece that needs to be done. And that is, come ballot time, at election time in June, there needs to be an option on the table for the people that are being shut out of the process, for the people that are being called names and scorned at in the press. And we have some of them walking around here calling us names and taking video. There needs to be a political option. And I can tell you, when you ask people in Ontario, is it okay to call the cops and send them to a park to watch parents with their kids? Do people in Ontario agree with that? Absolutely not. Do they believe that people should lose their jobs and their education for not wanting to put something in their body? Absolutely not. Don't believe the polls and the pollsters that are paid to do this type of thing for a living. And so how do we do this? When my wife got kicked out, I said to her, are we done with politics? We've had enough for a couple of lifetimes. And people said to us from across Ontario, we need a political option come next provincial election. You're going to hear from Pastor Mike Thiessen. He said we need a political option. And my wife said, we are going to keep going. She had the will to say, I am not done. And Jim, you're not done, because we have people across this province that need a political option. And federally, we saw Maxime Bernier and the PPC present that option for people. And his party is growing and his movement is growing. But provincially, there was no opportunity to call a party the People's Party of Ontario. You cannot call a party the PPC in Ontario. Elections Ontario would not allow that. And so don't be fooled by anyone who tells you that you can name a party that. We looked into that last year. So we registered the New Blue Party of Ontario. And I am proud to have the support of Maxime Bernier in an informal alliance with the federal PPC. And we've been building that party for the last year. We had a slowdown because last year I was diagnosed with cancer in my leg, the same cancer that took Terry Fox's life. Slowed us down for a bit, but in 8 months, after 3 surgeries and 6 rounds of chemotherapy, I'm proud that I'm walking again. And when Rob found out I was walking again, he said, you're coming to Ottawa. And my wife and I have been building the party with the support of thousands in every riding across this province. But I have a challenge for you here today. It is time to take all of this energy and turn the anger into passion and channel it into a political option come June at the next provincial election. And we can't do it alone. An undivided political option where we are with each other, where we band together, where we exercise that fundamental right to vote. And with your help, we will find candidates, people of courage and conviction, to run in every riding across this province, to hold Doug Ford and the PCs to account, and to tell them we're not disengaging, we're just getting started. In the last 3 weeks, we've seen what can happen when people are fighting together with the same goal in mind. It was just early in October when the Doug Ford PCs were bragging that they were telling employers in Ontario they were advocating and telling employers to implement mandatory COVID vaccine policies for employment. They were saying it in the legislature and in the press. They voted down Roman Baber's Jobs and Jab bill that my wife supported. They were clearly in favor of people losing their jobs if they did not get the COVID vaccine. And in just a couple of short weeks later, because of all of you, because of all the activity on the ground and people calling their MPPs and emailing and calling and emailing, when an MPP presented Bill 12, a proposed law that would have mandated COVID vaccines in healthcare and education, the PC MPPs were initially quiet, But with all the pushback and all the pressure from people like you across this province, by the time it came to a vote, they buckled and they voted down that bill. And it's not a coincidence that the very next day, Doug Ford called a press conference and came up and he said, I take it all back. The last year and a half, I take it all back. I didn't really mean it. It's only temporary, and I promise by March, this is all going to be over. I guess he's got a new scientific model that tells him what's going to happen in March. And then just this week, the PCs finally came forward and said they're not going to mandate COVID-19 vaccination in healthcare. But it's in the right direction, these steps, but it's not enough, obviously, because the damage has been done. They have set in course these emergency measures and told employers to implement these policies, and people are losing their jobs. But why do I tell you this story of watching this government flip-flop and lose its ground? Because it shows you when you're on the 10-yard line in a football game, there's no Hail Mary pass. We got to move the ball forward, and we got to keep moving forward, and movement will be done. And that's what is being done. That's what's being done with legislators in Queen's Park fighting back and with you pressuring MPPs. And together we can build that in the New Blue Party for next year's election in June. We can have candidates right across this province, and we are going to force Doug Ford and the PCs to face reality, because they never apologize for the things that they do. They are above apologies. They want us to apologize. They want Randy Hillier to apologize for having the right to speak. But when will they apologize to the people across Ontario who have lost their jobs, lost their livelihoods? In closing, I want to say, let's band together in June. Help us find candidates. Sign up and get the information at newblueontario.com, and let's force the Doug Ford PCs. With our will and with our energy, they will now apologize to all of us in June. Thank you, and God bless you, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you for having me.